Hello, welcome again to another edition of Practical English. I am your host, Peter from Canada, coming to you by way of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And today is going to be a vocabulary lesson. We're going to be taking a look at things you wear. So, I've prepared a few slides here, breaking things up into category, and I'm mostly trying to focus on clothing words that students of mine have difficulty remembering the English names for or find confusing. So, our first picture here, that is a lovely garment, that is pronounced blouse. A blouse is essentially a shirt, but a shirt that is only worn by women. Doesn't necessarily have to be, I suppose, but normally is. Second picture, yeah, students have difficulty with this one. That is a cardigan. A cardigan is essentially a sweater, but as you can see, it has buttons on the front. And again, this is an item of clothing normally worn by women. Another confusing aspect of clothing vocabulary can be the difference between a coat and a jacket. As you can see in the picture, there are some noticeable differences. The jacket is longer, it's heavier, it has buttons, and you can see that this is mostly meant for cold weather. The jacket, on the other hand, is a lot lighter, it's shorter, and it has a zipper rather than buttons. So this is something meant to be worn outside on more mild days. Now, an important aspect of clothing vocabulary is that we use the expression a pair of with a lot of clothing words. Now, a pair of means two. So in a lot of cases, it makes sense. A pair of shoes, a pair of gloves, because they come in twos. If you are only talking about one, then you can use articles, a shoe, a glove. But we have a number of clothing items that only come in ones and we still use a pair of. And these tend to be clothing items that end in the letter S. For example, a pair of jeans, a pair of shorts. The only exception to this rule I can think of is underwear. We say a pair of underwear, even though there's only one and it does not end in the letter S. Here are some words that I found people have some difficulty with, not so much in recognizing, but just in the pronunciation. Um, so yeah, our first item here, skirt, that is pronounced like bird, skirt. Then we have a dress, that is the egg sound, eh, dress, a single item of clothing that is worn only by women. This is a suit, and that is the boot sound. Ooh, ooh, suit. And a suit is usually multiple items that you wear together, usually in a formal situation, and it's normally worn by men. Then we have a sweater, and you can see the difference between a sweater and a cardigan is that the sweater simply doesn't have any buttons. And that is the eh sound, as in egg, sweater, same sound as dress. Some useful verbs when talking about clothing. Wear is the most common one. And this basically means to have clothes on your body. If we are talking about an action in progress at the moment of speaking, we use the present continuous. She's wearing a red cardigan. If we are talking about regular routine and habit, we use the simple present. He wears a suit to work. We can also use the term dress to talk about clothing. An example in the simple present, she always dresses in black. So when we use the verb dress, it more describes your style rather than the specific clothing you're wearing. There is also the phrase get dressed, the opposite being get undressed, which means to put on or take off clothes. And that's it. A quick one today. Hope you found that helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. As always, I will be back just as soon as I am able. In the meantime, thank you for listening.